Thor Love and Thunder is directed by Taika Waititi and stars Chris Hemsworth, Natalie Portman, and Christian Bale. The god of thunder, Thor, Odin's son, seeks help from his old friends and old flame in order to fight Gore, the god butcher, who intends to live up to his namesake and kill every deity in the universe. The first Thor movie I actually really like. I thought it felt epic, I thought it felt emotional, and in my opinion, it still stands up to this day as one of Marvel's most underrated movies, in my opinion. Dark World is where things started to go downhill. Now, I don't hate Dark World the way that most people do, but I do have to admit, it is one of the most bland Marvel movies I've ever seen. But it still had a ton of good action. All of the returning characters that I loved from the first movie were back interacting with each other, so And then we have Taika Waititi stepping into the director's chair and making Thor Ragnarok. What did I think of Thor Ragnarok? Well, for the most part, it's pretty much the exact same thing that I think of Love and Thunder. And I do think that is the best way to describe Thor Love and Thunder. Whatever you thought of Ragnarok, more than likely, you're gonna think of Love and Thunder. And for me, I did really enjoy both movies. The one thing that I do think this movie did better than Ragnarok was handle its villain. Gore the God Butcher is awesome in this movie. While Hela was intimidating in Thor Ragnarok, I never felt a strong three-dimensional character from her. She was cool, but there was nothing really to grasp onto the way that so many other great Marvel villains had something to grasp onto, like Killmonger or Thanos. Gore the God Butcher in this movie is a legitimate character, and a character whose motivation you do understand, and you do sort of get behind where he's coming from. I won't spoil it for you, but it is comic accurate, and what I will say is that when you see it and you see just how down he really is at that moment before he gets power, you do sort of understand why he wants to do what he wants to do. And add that to the fact that Christian Bale is terrifying as Gore. Even though he has the nose that he doesn't in the comics, he is still easily so terrifying and so chilling, especially when most of the background behind him is pitch black and he is covered head to toe, even in skin, in white. And the way that he moves and the way that he talks and his eyes, he's a terrifying Marvel villain. And all the other returning characters are good too. Thor is funny and easily likable. Valkyrie still remains to this day my favorite character in the entire Thor series. And then we get to Jane Foster as the Mighty Thor. This could have been a real hit or miss for me, but honestly, I thought Natalie Portman did great in this role. She was so likable, and this is the most charming she has been in any Thor movie yet. She kicks just as much ass as Valkyrie and Thor, and it's awesome to see. Not to mention that the visuals in this movie are so vibrant and so varied, even just a black and white background still manages to be beautiful because of the style this movie is centered around in. The action is really good, the soundtrack and score is right up there with Ragnarok. And the comedy is all legitimately funny, especially this one running gag with Thor trying to choose which was his better weapons, Stormbreaker or Mjolnir, and just that little dynamic between the three characters. And yes, they do act like Mjolnir and Stormbreaker are two legitimate characters. Their dynamic is actually sort of funny and actually kind of endearing. And now we come to the downsides of this movie. And if I'm being completely honest, there's really just one main flaw with this movie. But in my opinion, it is a huge flaw, and that is the tone. Now look, I enjoyed Thor Ragnarok well enough, but in my opinion, I didn't love it like so many others loved it. I thought it was honestly too funny. And what I mean by that is that we're dealing with the destruction of Ragnarok, the death of so many characters, but immediately following those big emotional moments in the Thor series, they're immediately followed up with lame jokes. And sure, they can be funny, but the fact that they're funny just makes you feel all the more uncomfortable. I don't know, in Ragnarok, I felt there should have been a better balance of comedy and drama, but instead it more focused on the comedy aspect than the drama, and in my opinion, that made it a lot harder to latch onto as a story. Love and Thunder has that exact same problem times 10. This is a legitimately funny movie, but at the same time, that also ends up being a problem because the movie can never balance that sense of comedy and drama, especially with the characters of Jane and Gore. These are two characters who have two really dark and really emotionally heavy storylines in the film, but their scenes are cut in between scenes of Thor hanging out with the Guardians or Thor hanging out at New Asgard with a ton of jokes and silly moments, and it just felt wrong. It felt like every 10 minutes there was tonal whiplash, and it just made a lot of the funny moments instead feel more silly and stupid than they did legitimately comedic. I don't know, maybe it's a me thing because I'm one of the very few people who legitimately didn't love Thor Ragnarok like everyone else loved it, and everything that I didn't like in that film is raised up by 10 in this one. But silly, stupid, tone-deaf moments aside, this movie was good. Though the unbalanced tone does make for an end product where the emotional moments feel confusing and the sillier moments feel dumb, as big a problem as this is, that's really my only big flaw with the film. The rest of the movie is a whole lot of fun. The acting is great, the comedy is good, the visuals are gorgeous, the music is awesome, and the action was pretty cool too. I feel much like Ragnarok, I'm going to fall in the minority of people who don't absolutely love this movie, but even though I don't absolutely love it, don't make that think that I don't like this movie, because I legitimately do. I'm going to give Thor Love and Thunder a B. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite Thor movie? For me, I still have to go with the first. I don't know, there's something Shakespearean about it that just makes it feel like it's a level above so many other typical Marvel movies. Maybe I just prefer the more stoic yet human Thor as opposed to the more jokester Thor that we have in the later films. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.